On today's Travel Talk with Selling Travel, I'm joined by Stephen Phillips, General Manager of LUX Grand Bay, who'll be telling us all about the brand's latest property in Mauritius. Hi, Stephen. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. I've got the sun, the sea, the air, my swimming pool. Everything's just outside my door. And I might be on lockdown, but at the end of the day, there's probably no better place to do that.
Oh, I tell you what, I don't think we want to hear any more from you. I think that's it. The interview's over. As mentioned, LUX Grand Bay is due to open in Mauritius. I believe, is it September this year?
It's going to be in the third quarter.
Right.
Obviously,
Okay.
We've had a few different challenges, so third quarter this year.
Okay.
Fourth quarter.
Well, tell us more about the property.
Well, I was very, very fortunate. I've, run some of what I would say some of the very best properties in the world in the Maldives. And it was, when I've heard about LUX, for quite a few years now, and it was a tremendous transformation in the last 10 years. I think it's the 10th anniversary this year. I've seen it transform from a fairly kind of standard luxury product and experiences-led brand into something that, is becoming quite exceptional. And I was looking to come back to to Mauritius. My wife is Mauritian, and I wasn't going to do it just on the basis of we've got a house here, let's go back and I will relax. I wanted something pretty special to move back to. I'm a bit of a snob, so I can't go to all hotels are great for what they are, but there's some are going to be a little bit better than others. And I had the privilege of meeting Paul Jones, the CEO of the company in Singapore. And his idea about what LUX Grand Bay is going to be was something, I'm saying truly unique. I think that would be over-egging it, but will be something very different and something that my private client base would enjoy coming to, being a snob and having the people I've been very fortunate to look after. I always picture them in a future resort. And, he was explaining, and, we've got overall 116 units. We show 86 suites, which are all motion facing, designed by Kelly Hoppen from London and her team. You got Lucy and Lee and so on working tremendously hard to create something different. We have great hotels in Mauritius, and we have great hotels in the Indian Ocean, but the designs are very cool and contemporary. Yes, there is that little bit of Mauritius coming into some of the designs, but there's a real feeling of bright and airiness about it. And obviously, looking onto the Indian Ocean and Grand Bay Lagoon, certainly helps. And then, we have the 8 villas. They're all duplex. Again, very light and contemporary. They've all got spiral staircases and the swimming pools, barbecues, and so on. And I always tried to. The first time I came here, just after the interviews, I was actually shown the mock-up room, the junior suite, and I just thought the sense of space was fantastic. And people like sense of space now. They get it in Maldives in terms of the villas. And we have villas, but the majority of our rooms are obviously on the 3 stories. But there was still a great sense of space, and the view certainly made it a lot different. And then we have our full name actually is LUX Grand Bay Resort and Residences. Just across the road we have 22 residences, all 2 and 3 bedroom, all with swimming pools. Again, that same styling about them. I had the privilege of sleeping on a mattress the other day just to make sure everything was right. The linen has got silk in it, as well as kind of sustainably sourced cottons. So you've got to. It's a tough thing I got to do, but got to do these things. And then the baths are extremely large. You certainly get a couple of people in there if we really want to. And we have the chromotherapy showers in all the units as well, which change color over a period of time. And if you speak to Karenza from our wellness area, she says apparently the changing of colors really makes you feel brighter, lighter, and so on. So I have to admit I didn't feel that, but I was more concentrating on whether the water was hot or not, testing phase. The main thing for me, other than things like the villas and what will stand us apart, I think is going to be the experiences that we have.
Okay.
LUX has a Beach Rouge concept in all its places, and they're fantastic. Mediterranean style food and so on, and they're very, very popular. Our Beach Rouge is different. We don't have buffets per se. We have a great glass cabinet in the morning where people want to go in for fresh charcuterie and so on. And we'll be making all our own sausages there and our own mozzarellas and so on. So that would be in there. But we really want to incorporate what our guests really need, what they really want, what they really desire in a dining experience in a relaxed atmosphere. And we'll have very cool music. We've got some DJs there coming in. They won't take over the place because we do have people of my age coming, as well as a younger lot like you. But the whole atmosphere is going to be truly spectacular. And it looks over to one of our 3 pools in the public areas. Then we have Aikizu. Aikizu is an Asian restaurant. Again, open every evening. We need to do something different from the Hakisans, the Nobus, and so on and so forth. So Dave Minson, the culinary director, who I'm very fortunate is going to be our executive chef for the year, and Walter, the vice president at F&B, went out, visited the world, came back and said, this is what we want to do. If you can imagine cooking with fire shows around everywhere, yes, we've got sushi, we've got everything else there, but we're doing a truly kind of global Asian, if you like, cuisine there. And with 100 odd covers, it's certainly somewhere where our local guests, as well as our international guests, will steadily stream to. And Mr. Jones turned around to me and said, this is not a hotel restaurant. This is a restaurant. And he almost said, this is a restaurant with rooms. It's going to be truly fantastic. And just across the corridor from there, we're going to have a nightclub, quite an exclusive nightclub, fairly small. And we're still finalizing the little details on that at the moment. But you can imagine hotel guests being able to go there after they've dined. The other one
is a resort then, isn't it? It's not just a hotel. It is a resort with, everything going on right on the doorstep.
Yeah, it is. Right the way from, even before, guests arrive, our contact with the guests, understanding what they want. We had a long meeting the other day about some new wellness concepts, which will lead people if they want to come for wellness, for example. And we've got the LUX Spa, an incredible gym. We'll contact them if they want to buy these packages, and we'll do the consultations with them. We'll maybe send them menus that they can use 3 or 4 days before they come, or a week before they come. We'll tell them what to do on the plane when they come over. And we're not a true 100% wellness place, but we want those people who want to come for a different reason other than the beach to really be truly looked after. And, that's everything that the whole senior leadership team, and it's amazed me in the year I've been here, I've really been so committed to. We call it the flagship, but Lux provides some great resorts, but we're going to be slightly different and maybe attracting a few different people to it. One of the main things is we have a 30-meter swimming pool on the 2nd floor. Looking over the beautiful sunsets and so on, and it's called Bizu. It's adults only during the day, but in the evening you can just imagine you can actually dine in the swimming pool. I haven't told the waiters yet, but they might have to go in there, and we've got to sort a few things out.
At least you don't have to worry about spilling anything.
No, I know it's funny, but the thing about having people walking into a swimming pool is what we're going to put them in terms of a uniform. You're going to have to wear swimming trunks and stuff like that, but I'm sure they're going to enjoy it. But in the evening, it turns into a live entertainment area, and you've got the sunset there, and it's going to be very, very special. And that's what I need personally, being selfish. I don't want to go to somewhere which is already established. I opened Juali in the Maldives. I ran Giri Lankamfushi, which is, #1 hotel in the world. But at all times, I need to think about what is going to make us different. And they have something called collectible experiences, which basically it kind of, it provides guests with kind of meaningful stories and memories that stay with us. A lot of them are linked to CSR projects or maybe even walking up a mountain to get some, solitude up there, which people are still looking forward to, even though they maybe have been stuck at home for a while. And, it's about giving back to the communities that we're on. We do a lot. I know we'll talk about sustainability in a minute, but I've got to be able to imagine people being able to do something different than lying on a beach and going into the ocean. And that's, I think, what we're going to be doing at, at LUX Grand Bay.
Great, good to hear. And for those that might not know about Lux Resorts and Hotels as a brand, what are the key USPs and what sets you guys apart from other hoteliers?
Well, I think if you kind of look back 10 years ago when they came, just before Paul Jones took them over, there was probably not a lot. But one of the things that he did is granting people, the team, the ability and the ownership of trying to create something different. When Lux changed, when we became Lux, there was not a lot of money around, and we weren't able to do a lot in terms of resurrecting the product itself. So it had to come along with the experiences. And as I mentioned to you, the collective experiences really do create some meaning for everybody. We do a lot with CSR, and we encourage our guests to become involved in that. We do a lot with the schools. We do a lot with the local purchasing and the purchases. We try to buy as much as we can, obviously in Mauritius, in local produce. And we let people know that, and we let them experience it. Sometimes things are intangible, but if you see a natural smile on the face of somebody, you know that we're doing well. A lot, when you walk past, I don't know, maybe you won't, but if you walk past a guest in the morning and you say good morning and they just go morning, you kind of think, maybe it's not everything going right. So you ask them. But when you walk past again and say, hey, good morning, Mr. Jones, how are you? And he goes, I'm absolutely fantastic. This has been wonderful. You know that you're creating something new for a guest, or you're at least meeting or slightly exceeding their expectations. And that is what Lux has been able to do. Now, since they've taken over, a lot of the hotels, most of the hotels have been refurbished. Obviously, we've opened the 2 properties in the Maldives as well. And this continues. And every day we try to think of something different, but not create something that's going to be a fad, that's going to be there now and gone the next day. It's something that we truly believe in and we think about before we introduce. So, and it is working well. You see the occupancy figures pre-COVID, everyone was doing fantastically, and that means we're doing well. And sorry to go on about it, the amount of repeat guests that are coming back to places like Lux Belmar, Le Morne, and Grand Bay, and was in the Maldives. That's a true measurement of whether you're doing well. Because if they want to come back, they're spending a lot of money. They're not just popping down to the Costa del Sol. They're spending a lot of money coming out, and that they really do need to feel that we're doing something really great, and we want to return. And when they want to return, as far as I'm concerned, we're doing superbly.
And for those that are returning, obviously post-pandemic, how will the guest experience change? Because you have to take into consideration all of these safety protocols now.
We started doing that last April already because our hotels were open. We contacted, we're not the experts. We do have a hygiene guy, a superb guy. But we contacted the experts. We listened to them, whether it was the suppliers of chemicals, whether it was the WHO and all this. We really brought this in place. Now, some of the things would cost money, but we looked at the importance of it and we introduced it. Other things are the simple things in terms of I mentioned earlier how many covers we have in the restaurants. Do we want to have 100% occupancy with 500 or 600 people, whereby social distancing was going to be a problem? And this was put in place very, very early. QR codes for menus. I'm an old guy. I'd much rather read a bloody menu than click on something to get a QR code. But even I worked out that it was actually quite simple to do. So, we put that in place. And not only did we teach our teams, but we tried to coach the team members' families. So we gave our teams information which would help them at home. And selfishly, that works for us because social distancing, outside of the workplace is just as important as social distancing in the workplace. So we try to minimize, where we could, all that type of thing. And even our purchasing side of, how we receive our goods. I don't know if you know, but have you been to the Maldives before?
No, I haven't been fortunate enough.
Oh my dear me! Oh, you got to get it. So, if you can imagine, the Maldives, all the deliveries come in by boat to the resort. So they had to look at how we would offload all the fresh produce or goods and so on off the boat into the stores, using hygiene, using social distancing, and so on and so forth. And that kind of thing is going to continue for a long while, I feel. Whether COVID, some people say it's going to become like the flu, it's going to come back every year, I don't know. But we have to do everything we possibly can to ensure that, that's not going to be a repetition of what's happening. Again, this morning we were talking about it, in terms of, I think there was one of the resorts has a lot of requests for buffets. So how can we do a buffet but socially distance? And so they've come up with ideas for that, and that will help. And the other thing is to listen to our guests. If we don't listen to our guests, then we're not always the experts. They have different requirements, and where we can, we will certainly introduce those. So, but if you look at TripAdvisors and so on, they say that we've been doing very, very well, and that's always a necessary evil, if you like. But it's a good way of getting feedback, and they say we're doing it extremely well. So yeah, and we'll carry on.
Do you foresee running at kind of 80% occupancy once you open?
Well, I think, we're in a position at the moment that in Mauritius, obviously none of our hotels are open. If you look at the forward bookings for later this year, say from kind of July onwards, there's been a huge amount of interest. People are a little bit hesitant because, they feel that they're going to be spending a lot of money, and they don't always trust that the airlines will give the money back, although they're generally very, very good. The postponement policies we have are in place, the cancellation policies are in place, but there's still a little bit of, they're still a little nervous. So it's going to take us time. If you look at our figures now, we picked up, it's 5% occupancy for the rest. No, sorry, 2% occupancy for the rest of the year, just this week. So whether we'd get to 80%, not at Grand Bay, we wouldn't, because we're kind of new, although we'd love to. But certainly some of the Maldivian properties, they're already looking at 76, 80, 85% for later this year. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yes, okay. And let's touch on the sustainable element. I know it's quite an important ethos for LUX. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I think I'll be bit naughty to say anyone who doesn't think the sustainability and saving our planet isn't important really is thick, is dumb. I'm sorry, but it's so evident, what we're doing to the planet. I am an environmentalist. I have my own permaculture garden here. I try to do everything I possibly can, but LUX, as you say, has always taken that very much into consideration, and we do a lot of it through our CSR partnerships with the local communities, not only about purchasing locally. We have a brand called Salt that basically 80% of its produce is actually purchased from within Mauritius. It's an incredible thing. You should have a look at it on the website. Amazing what they do there. And we have to do more of that as a group. LUX Belmar has its own garden, its own farm, and we at Grand Bay will be purchasing from that. So that's extremely important. And I think with things like the Sustainability Development Goals, which is obviously a worldwide thing. I think there's 17 goals in total coming from trying to get rid of poverty, hunger. We're committed to, looking at every single aspect of that and doing what we can. We're a fairly small company, there's not everything we can do quickly, but Paul Jones has set the target that we'll be carbon neutral by 2050. And the nice thing is that people here and probably in the Maldives and other places see the benefit of that. Because if you're purchasing locally, then obviously you're helping the country that you're working in. If you're teaching children how to grow stuff in their gardens or at their schools, that's a fantastic thing, and that leads us to help us for the future. there's so much that we can do. If you like, what I'll do is send you some stuff from Ibiza, who's our director of development, or that's the director of sustainability. We listen to her every week, and she's on the committee of quite a few world councils. And you're just amazed at not only her knowledge, but most importantly, her commitment to it. And it's infectious. And it means that we try and do the same. So there's so much more. And I'll send you some details on it so you can see that. But our building practices, as much for the resort, the new resort, we try our very best to do that. The use of AC systems and so on, they're the most modern now, so we're not using lots of energy. We're putting beehives. Actually, all our resorts now, I think, in Mauritius are putting in beehives because bees will save the planet. And then we're putting some on one of our rooftops. We will be putting some on our rooftops, as long as they're not hornets. I don't want to get stung again. But bees don't sting you very much. So we're all those little things lead to bigger things, and the bigger things basically really just kind of bring it all together.
Okay, great. And tell us a bit about why travel agents should recommend Mauritius, and particularly staying at LUX Grand Bay.
My wife's Mauritian, so I've been coming here for 15 years now, and I've seen the developments going on over there. But the one thing that will always hit me is the people. Which is why I'm really lucky in terms of recruitment. I don't recruit because someone works for a 5-star or 6-star hotel. I recruit for the attitude that they have and the smile they have. And one of the things I've noticed about Mauritius is that almost without exception, they're very, very welcoming. And they're pretty caring as well. I had the same in the Maldives, where it's a very similar thing. And they want to succeed. Yes, they're there for a job. Yes, they're there because they have to take the money home and look after their families and so on. But they do it with a great smile. There's a guy called Vishnu who works up at Grand Gorge. He's the mixologist there. And every time I go in, and a couple of times when I was doing interviews for new team members, he'd bring along a cocktail for me to try. And I would give the part of the cocktail to the person I was interviewing. And he was so interested in my response, and so interested in the response of the person that I was interviewing. And it's a little thing, but it was fantastic. And this really makes a huge, huge difference. And Mauritius itself, yeah, hey, look, we got some great beaches. The one on Grand Bay might be 350 meters long, but it's stunning. But we got close by. There's the backdrops of the mountains. There's so much here that we could do. LUX Le Mans has got Le Mans mountain around it. You can climb up that mountain, and I haven't done it yet. I will promise I will do it one day. And you can have a picnic at the top of it. Could you imagine doing that? And they had the other day last year, someone who wanted to ask their wife to be married, and they set this thing up on the top of the mountain. And fortunately, she said yes. But it's all those little different things that you could do. Would you come here to do shopping? No, not really. But unless you want to shop.
Plenty of other things, though, I'm sure.
Yeah, too bloody right there is. Yeah, it's fantastic. You can go and out and visit a farm and see, how we're farming these things up at Balmar. You can see how the bees are being kept at Les Grands Gorge. So it's a lot more. And I think people are not only looking now for fantastic beaches, they are looking for these experiences. So a lot of hotels are doing a lot of work to try and create something new. And Mauritius has got the island. So it's got a lot of natural resources to do it. And it's up to us to make sure those guests get a small bite of what we have here.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much for talking to me, Stephen.